You probably end most days the same way. A screen glows in front of your face. The room is quiet, but your mind is loud. And without realizing it, you perform a nightly ritual that almost no human being in history ever experienced. But the real story is far stranger. For most of human history, night was not simply the absence of daylight. It was an event, a transformation, a completely different world that arrived every evening and changed how your ancestors thought, felt, behaved, and connected. Tonight feels normal to you, but if one of your ancient ancestors could step into your house after sunset, they might think you were living inside a miracle or a trap. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived according to rhythms that modern life has almost completely erased. When the sun disappeared, something else appeared. Darkness. Not the diluted darkness of city streets and glowing devices. Real darkness. The kind that hides the horizon. The kind that makes every sound feel important. The kind that reminds you that you are a small creature in a very large world. And that darkness changed human behavior in ways that scientists are only beginning to fully understand. What did your ancestors actually do every night? The answer starts with a simple fact. They could not turn darkness off. Today you flip a switch. Your ancestors could not. When sunset arrived, daily activity slowed dramatically. Hunting became difficult. Travel became dangerous. Work largely stopped. The world forced people to gather together, and gathering together may have changed the entire course of human evolution. Anthropologist Wiessner spent years studying storytelling traditions among hunter-gatherer groups. Daytime conversations often focused on practical matters: food, tools, tasks, problems. But nighttime conversations were different. After dark, stories emerged. Myths appeared. Lessons were shared. Imaginations expanded. People talked about distant places, unusual events, ancestors, spirits, relationships, and possibilities. In other words, night became the time when humans explored ideas rather than survival. That shift may sound small, but it could have been revolutionary. A species that spends evenings sharing stories gains something powerful: collective memory. Knowledge can travel beyond direct experience. Wisdom survives its original owner. Mistakes become lessons. Success becomes tradition. One person's experience becomes everyone's education. What happens when thousands of generations repeat that process? You get culture. You get civilization. You get humanity as you know it. Around ancient fires, information moved from one brain to another. And unlike physical strength, information could accumulate. Every story added something. Every generation inherited more than the previous one. The fire was providing warmth, but it was also creating a classroom. Researchers such as Wrangham have argued that fire transformed human life in profound ways. Cooking changed nutrition. Protection changed safety. But evening gatherings around fire may have changed social life itself. A fire naturally creates a circle. People face each other. Faces become visible. Attention becomes shared. The group focuses on a common center. Even today, people sitting around a campfire often experience something surprisingly ancient. Conversations deepen. Distractions disappear. Time slows down. Why does that happen? Because your brain evolved in environments where firelight was one of the most important social technologies ever invented. For countless generations, evenings were not spent alone staring at personalized streams of information. They were spent sharing a single experience together. Your ancestors watched the same flames, heard the same stories, felt the same night air, and looked into the same darkness beyond the fire's edge. That shared attention created something modern life often struggles to provide: connection. But storytelling was only part of the nightly ritual. There was another habit almost every ancient human experienced. They looked at the sky, not occasionally, constantly. Imagine stepping outside tonight. Now imagine a sky completely untouched by city lights. Thousands upon thousands of stars. A bright river of light stretching overhead. Planets visible to the naked eye. Patterns emerging naturally across the darkness. For ancient humans, the night sky was not background decoration. It was information. It was navigation. It was mythology. It was a calendar. It was entertainment. It was wonder. Research into traditional societies consistently shows how deeply celestial observation influenced human culture. The sky helped people track seasons, predict migrations, plan movements, remember stories, and understand their place in the world. What happens when you spend every night looking upward? You begin asking questions. Who are we? Where did everything come from? What lies beyond us? Many of humanity's biggest ideas may have started under stars. Today, many people can go weeks without truly seeing the night sky. Artificial light has hidden one of the oldest human experiences, and something important may have disappeared with it: a sense of perspective. Psychologists often describe awe as a powerful emotional state. It occurs when something feels vast and difficult to fully comprehend. The night sky is one of the most reliable sources of awe ever available to humans. Ancient people experienced that feeling regularly. Modern people often do not. Could that change how you think? Some researchers believe it can. Studies have linked experiences of awe with increased curiosity, generosity, and feelings of connection. In other words, staring at stars may have done more than inspire stories. It may have shaped behavior, but perhaps the most surprising nightly habit involves sleep itself. You probably assume humans have always slept the way you do. Go to bed. Sleep for 8 hours. Wake up. Simple. Except history suggests something different. Historian Roger Ekirch uncovered evidence from diaries, court records, and medical texts. Many pre-industrial societies practiced what he called segmented sleep. People often slept in 2 separate phases. First sleep, then a waking period, then second sleep. During that middle period, people might talk, pray, reflect, or simply sit quietly. For centuries, this pattern may have been completely normal. Then artificial lighting began changing human schedules. Work patterns shifted. Night became more active. Sleep compressed into a single block. Gradually, an ancient rhythm faded. That discovery raises an interesting question. How many things about modern life feel natural simply because you inherited them? And how many ancient habits disappeared so recently that your biology has not fully adapted? Your body still carries instructions written during a much older world. A world of firelight, darkness, stories, stars, and social connection. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker has emphasized how strongly light influences human sleep systems. Your brain uses light as a signal. For most of history, those signals were predictable. Sunset meant darkness. Darkness meant rest. Today, those signals are often overwhelmed. Bright screens extend artificial daytime deep into the night. Your ancestors rarely faced that challenge. Their evenings followed rhythms shaped by nature. Yours are often shaped by notifications. The difference matters because your brain is still listening to cues that evolved long before electricity existed. This creates a strange mismatch. Technology changes quickly. Evolution changes slowly. The world transformed. Your nervous system did not. That mismatch appears everywhere. You can communicate instantly with people across the planet, yet loneliness remains common. You have unlimited entertainment, yet boredom still appears. You have unprecedented convenience, yet stress continues to rise. Why? Part of the answer may be that many ancient human needs were quietly embedded inside nightly rituals. Shared attention, face-to-face conversation, storytelling, reflection, community, wonder, darkness. None of these things were luxury experiences. They were ordinary. And because they were ordinary, they became foundational. Your ancestors did not schedule mindfulness sessions. They sat beside fires. They did not search for digital detox strategies. Night naturally removed distractions. They did not consume endless streams of content. They created content together through stories, songs, and conversation. In many ways, ancient evenings forced behaviors that modern experts now recommend intentionally. Slow down, connect, reflect, observe, listen. Notice what happens when modern people recreate fragments of those environments. Camping trips often feel restorative. Long conversations around fires become memorable. Stargazing feels meaningful. Evening walks calm a mind. None of these experiences are new. They are ancient. What feels refreshing may actually feel familiar at a biological level. Your brain recognizes patterns older than civilization, patterns older than agriculture, patterns older than recorded history. Some researchers studying hunter-gatherer societies today have observed that evenings remain important social periods. People gather, talk, laugh, share information, strengthen relationships. The activities vary. The principle remains. Humans are social creatures, and nighttime has long been one of the primary moments when social bonds are reinforced. That may explain why isolation often feels heavier after dark. Night has always been associated with togetherness. When that togetherness disappears, something feels missing, even if you cannot immediately identify what it is. The irony is striking. Modern life has given you more ways to connect than any generation before you. Yet many ancient forms of connection have become less common. You can send a message across continents. But when was the last time you sat beneath a sky full of stars and listened to a story? You can watch thousands of videos. But when was the last time a conversation lasted for hours without interruption? You can illuminate every corner of your home. But when was the last time you experienced true darkness? Your ancestors would probably find modern nights astonishing. The lights, the screens, the constant stimulation, the endless activity. But they might also notice something else. The absence of rituals that once shaped human life. Not because those rituals were magical, because they were human. The fire gathered people together. The stories connected generations. The stars inspired questions. The darkness encouraged rest. And the community reminded individuals that they belonged to something larger than themselves. Those habits survived for thousands upon thousands of years, not by accident, because they served a purpose. Many of them still do. You do not need to abandon modern life to learn from ancient nights, but understanding them reveals something important. The human brain was not built for endless stimulation. It was built for cycles, activity and rest, information and reflection, individual thought and shared experience. Ancient humans understood those rhythms without needing scientific papers to explain them. They simply lived them. And perhaps that is why the answer to what ancient humans did every night is more interesting than it first appears. They gathered. They talked. They told stories. They watched the stars. They sat beside firelight. They rested in darkness. And in doing so, they practiced behaviors that quietly helped create the species you became. So the next time you end your day staring into a glowing screen, remember something. For most of human history, people ended their evenings looking into a different kind of light. And that difference may explain far more about your mind than you realize.